Well, hello everybody, and welcome to another episode of Derp Your Hooves. So today we are in the Blackbird Simulations A6M-5, and yes, believe it or not, we are in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. So this plane could be a game changer for me. Oh, let's not do that. Because, as I've said before, it's one of my favorite aircraft. Well, definitely one of my favorite World War II aircraft. So let's just kind of zoom back here and take a look at it. So I know that I recently did a video where I did in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, I did the Airplane Heaven Mitsubishi, the A6M-2. And so there's a difference between the two aircraft. This came later in the war. Not too much later in the war, but this was a different version. And this actually has a two-stage supercharger on it. Different design, and you might be able to say, well, how can you tell the difference between the two? And in reality, how you would tell the difference between the two is that the two has, on the cowl, it's just a straight circle, and this one has this little lip up here, this little half moon lip, and that's kind of how you can tell the difference between the A6M-5, which is this one, and the A6M-2. There's that, and then there's also, let's try and remember all of our keys to walk. There's the exhaust pipe sticking out of the back. The A6M-2 does not have the tailpipe sticking out of the back of the cowl flaps. So that's one of the easiest ways to tell the difference between the two is on the cowl. The M2 has just a round cowl. The M5 has this moon shape here, and then it has the exhaust pipe sticking out of the back. So there's a couple things on this aircraft, because now we are in 2024, that I kind of want to go over. I read the manual on this. Surprise, surprise. Pony actually really read the manual this time. And there's a couple of things. So it's got wheel chocks in the sim, and there's no parking brake on this. I read the manual. There's no parking brake. So you have to remove the chocks, and you can remove the chocks in one of two ways. Oh, sorry, my mouse needs some cleaning. You can click on them this way, and then away they go, and you can put them back. But you obviously need to move them for flight. So the other thing is you got to take the pitot tube cover off right here. And once you take it off, I haven't been able to put it back on. I've noticed that. So I'm going to leave the chocks in place right now, because I'll show you why in a second. So we're not going to do a full inspection of the aircraft, but I'll just give you an outside look of it while it's on the ground. And you can see, well, I mean, it's just beautiful. I love the attention to detail in this livery. It's just amazing. And I'm working on, right now, currently, as a side note here, I'm working on Shift C gets us in the cockpit. What? Oh, that's right. And then we have to go to the internal view. There we go. But Shift C gets us in the cockpit. Sorry, I'm a little rusty. I haven't flown 2024 in a while, but this definitely makes me want to fly it for 2024. So there's this notepad here, this little flip book that you get in a lot of the Blackbird simulations. Sometimes it's a tablet. They gave us as a flip book. So let's see where it is. I keep forgetting. It's going to be in status, maybe? Yeah. Wheel chocks in place. So they're in place, and so if I go to the outside view, you can see the wheel chocks are right there on the wheels, and then if I go to toggle to get rid of them, they're gone. So you can do it from the inside, too. Now, this aircraft is only for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. It is not available for 2020. And I'll say that I'm actually pretty impressed with this aircraft and the flight model and everything. So I'm not sure where to start. So why don't we start with the options tab of this and take a look around the cockpit. So it comes when you first open it up out of the box, if that's even a thing anymore. Um, it comes pretty much looking like this, with the Blackbird Simulations logo on it up here on the board. Now let's bring that notepad back. So that's where it's going to be. If you click on the little ring binder, it stows it to the right over there. So it's going to come like this, and then you have these options where it's display English labels. Now that's great, unless you know how to read. It's like katakana, or I think this is katakana, or is it kanji, or hiragana. There's 3 different forms of Japanese language that I know, so I can't read that. So I speak and read English, and they give us nice little labels over the gauge. So that's going to be in the options menu. You hit display English labels and it'll give that to you. Now it has other options here like hide handheld radio. I haven't really seen that one yet, so I'm not sure where the handheld radio is. Where is it? Oh, there it is, right there. You get your little handheld radio, so you can hide it, I guess, for a more World War II feel. Now, I'm going to leave this up here, but the instrument panel is pretty much labeled for you. And again, I highly suggest reading the manual. And we're going to show you how to start it. And we're not going to do the auto start. The auto start's the same thing as hitting Control E. We're not going to do that, but we are going to leave fast crank auto clutch, auto ignition boost, and auto prime checked. Now, we're just going to do toggle crank, and we're not going to have to engage the clutch. So apparently it says this plane does not have an electric starter. So you have to auto start it this way. Unlike the Airplane Heaven for Microsoft 2020, and I did a completely different video on that. So we will leave that video alone and that plane alone as much as I can, because I'm not really doing a comparison video right now. So the layout of the cockpit, if you have the other one, is different just by a little bit. Some of the switches and doohickeys out here do different things. Like, for example, this is a primer, so we're not going to use it right now. But the magneto is still in the same place. The electrical box is still in the same place. It does allow you to fly at night, and that's actually something I had a frustration with in Flight Simulator 2024. Was issues with the bloom and not being able to adjust it, and we're not going to talk about all the negative things. We're going to talk about the good things. So you can fly this at night, and I'm not going to do it in this video, but even without the night, the cockpit light? Yeah, the cockpit light. Even without the cockpit light on, if it's off like it's in right now, you can fly it at night because it has iridium painted gauges, so the gauges glow in the dark. That's kind of cool. But I have flown it at night, and it's a lot of fun. So the tail wheel lock, things like the pitch trim, I mean, everything's pretty much in the same place. The fuel tank selectors are a little different because it has wing tank select and belly tank select. So we're going to start on the wing tank, and the way we're going to start on the wing tank is obviously down is off, and I don't know what that is. And so I guess it's left and right wing tank. I don't know. And the belly tank, fuse and belly tank, that's fuse and I guess fuselage and belly tank. You really want to read the manual, again, on how to start it and what everything means before you start flying it. Because there's a level of realism for this that involves the oil temperature, the manifold pressure, and even with the ignition boost switch, and I already found out myself that you can overheat it, and it doesn't like to be overheated. So again, in this section over here, we have the oil shutter control and the cowl flap control. And let's just go to the outside of the aircraft really quick and show you Let's kind of zoom in here with our Robin Williams / Geddy Lee looking pilot. So let's go to the cowl and let's kind of look from this angle. So, well, let's look from the front. So the oil shutter is down here and it's closed, and it's actually animated. So if I open the oil shutter, that flap will open. If I close it like it is now, it'll close. And the cowl flaps will also open. I was going to say expand, but they'll open. So in order to do that, and I'll just kind of show you really quick, I think we can do it without the motor on, without the engine on. So if I go all the way one way, yeah, the cowl flaps are they even more extended right now? I don't know. I can't imagine they're hydraulic. Sorry, again. Okay, let's go all the way. There they are. See, now you can see that they're extended. So this is all going to help you with your engine cooling. But remember, you extend the cowl flaps and you increase drag. With the oil shutter, not so much, but you are going to want to let it cool a little bit. So remember, these two are your friend, and for takeoff, we're just going to leave it down. So you've got a bunch of other doodads and who-dads, and you have your flap lever and your landing gear lever. I have all of this stuff bound, and you even have an arrestor hook, right? So in theory, you could land this on a carrier if there was a carrier to land it on. Now you also have up here, returning to the fuel system, you have your fuselage tank and your wing tank, and it says there is no gauge for the belly tank. You just kind of wing that one. So let's go ahead and let's get ready to start it. So pretty much how you're looking at it right here is how it is. And when we start it, we're going to want it kind of like so. We're going to want it with the oh, sorry. Pony's brain is out. This is a lot for me to do an informative video again. The auto mixture is right here, and the manual mixture is here. So it says you have to have the manual mixture all the way up, but it turns out this is all the way up is back. And then you have to have the auto mixture up if you want to do that. Now, there's a bunch of features on this plane. We'll be getting into them soon. Let's focus on starting it. So unlike, again, I said I wasn't going to compare it, but this aircraft starts out full of fuel. So you don't have to worry about fueling it up. It already comes full of fuel. And you could say, well, does it? And I can say, yeah, it's right there. See? Fuselage, wing, right tank, belly tank. They're all at those levels. And you can go into the electronic flight bag. Where is it? Here. And you can always set your fuel levels however you want them. Flight aircraft information, right? It's here. Again, it's been so long since I've done this. So I'm not exactly sure how to set the fuel on this. Maybe it's in flight performances. Not sure. So we're just going to leave it alone for right now and just leave it fully fueled. Maybe it's in settings. Hard to say. So our speeds here in settings, aircraft, I can do all that stuff. And more apps. So I can go to aircraft. And maybe flight performances. I don't really know. Center of gravity, environment. Back. Flight planner. Let's just get rid of the electronic fuel bag. And let's just take this flight bag. Fuel bag. And let's just take it for a flight. So. Taking her for a flight. Alright, so we're going to go back to start. And hit start. And you have toggle crank, engage, clutch, and auto start. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to go down here to your generator and your battery and engage those. And we also want to give, for some reason, I guess you want to give 4 pumps of this fuel lever here. Probably to prime it. And then there's something about the primer and everything else, but we're going to do it with the fast crank and all this enabled just not doing auto start. So we have battery on, generator on. We're going to do gear indicator on. That's pretty much all we need for right now. We're going to turn our magnetos up to both. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we're going to take the wing selector tank. We probably should prime it again. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you can check your fuel pump. You can check your fuel levels here. We don't have to worry about it. We're just going to go here to toggle the crank. And you're going to hear it wind up. And then we're going to go to load, or actually status, and we're going to remove the wheel chocks because remember, and whoa, brakes, pony, brakes, there we go. Because as you just saw, without the wheel chocks, the whole plane rolls forward. So, there's a couple of things on this that I'm going to go over. And now, we're going to turn our pitot heat on. Now, there's a gear indicator that I turned on here. And let me kind of go over there really quick. Right there. So over here we have landing gear lights. You have up and down. So there's an indicator light here that lets you know where they're at because, well, it's good to know so you don't always have to check your gears, but as you can see, when you're looking at it from the top view, down, it's hard to see that they're down because the lights are over here. So anyhow, let's get ready to go ahead and taxi. And remember that I have some key bindings here, so we don't need that anymore. All we need to do is make sure that the tail wheel lock is disengaged, which it is. And if I didn't already say this over the engine's incredibly loud. Which way is the wind blowing? We want to fly into the wind. One of the things again about this aircraft is that it says the brakes fade. They're not great. And I don't know if that's how the Zero was in real life or what, because I've never flown one. So let's go ahead and taxi. The tail wheel is unlocked and we can go down here to the end of the runway. I believe it's runway 4 we're taking off from. Let's see, what does our compass say? No. So we're going to go all the way down to the end of the runway. We're going to check, maybe lower our flaps a little bit for takeoff. Maybe to about there for takeoff. And we're just going to go ahead and keep on taxiing. So this really is, in my opinion, this is a really fun aircraft, and I think I had said in my other video about Zeros that during World War II, I mean, the Zero was really a difficult plane for the Allies to beat. And eventually they did. I mean, they came up with the Hellcat, and they came up with the Mustang. But even the Spitfire, which some people like to refer to as the, you know, British Mustang, or people say the Mustang is the American Spitfire. The Spitfire had a hard time in the beginning of the war with the Zero, and this plane was a real pain for Allied pilots. So some of the reasons why is because it was so lightweight and it was so maneuverable. Yeah, we don't need a whole bunch of runway. Oh, the cowl flaps are out still. So it was so maneuverable that it made it difficult to fight against. Now, that's also, from what I understand, is because the plane's incredibly lightweight. Gee, I hope we have enough runway. Let's kind of get lined up on the runway. Not quite there yet. So, it really was a hard plane to fight against, is what I'm understanding here. So we're going to take off from right here. But it also wasn't one of the safest planes. And you can read all about that in the operations manual. So we're going to go ahead... Oh, no. The flaps were fine, Tony. Okay, so we're going to give it some trim. A little bit of trim up. And make sure our view is correct. We're going to lock the tail wheel. And I have all of this bound. And let's get ready for takeoff. So, there are many reasons the Zero was a great plane in World War II for the Japanese, but again, the Allied forces didn't like it. So, let's focus on our takeoff. Like that, pony. Not the easiest plane, but I love it. And up. There we are. And gears up. And see, the two indicator lights went on. Back to the pony view of it. Gears are up. Manifold pressure looks good. And let's just take her for a spin, shall we? So, it really was a great plane. Now, I've also heard from other sources that perhaps the Japanese stole the engine design from Howard Hughes, and, well, there were spies at that time, just like there's always spies. Corporate spies, all of this other stuff, and it's quite possible that the Japanese may have stolen the design for the engine. Alright, so we took off with our cowl flaps open, and we're just going to kind of maybe get some airspeed here and get some altitude. And just, you know, fly a little bit. So, I mean, for the history lesson for the Zero, yeah, it was a formidable plane from what I heard. But, you know, like I said, Hellcat, Mustang, even the P-38 was... And the P-38's another good plane. But... You know, eventually the Zero at the end of the war was used on more kamikaze missions than it actually was. Well, there was lots of kamikaze missions at the end of the war. So, about this plane itself, without, you know, getting into all the history of it, which, again, I'm pretty impressed with it, and we're just going to go ahead and we're going to do a slow bank here. Try and kind of keep the nose level. The flight model is pretty smooth. And let's just turn a little bit. Kind of come around, and I know I could have changed the weather to something a little nicer for the day, but let's just leave it on live weather as we fly along in the Blackbird Mitsubishi Zero. So I will say that you can do aerobatics, you can do stunts in the plane. Hope the RPM is high. So let's kind of bring the propeller RPM down a little bit. Okay, that's probably a little better. I almost want to get rid of the... Well, we could just fly to a better spot in the clouds. Aha! Well, it looks like there's an alarm going off. So let me find out what that alarm is for. Okay, and we're back. You didn't even know I was gone for a second. Well, you know, in the land of flight simming, real life happens, and yep, ringtones and alarms. I wonder how long that was going off for. Well, now you know what one of my alarms sounds like. So, back to the Zero. So, Zero was a good plane. I don't even know what I was saying at this point. The Zero was a good plane. It really was. Now, with the flight model, I'm impressed with this flight model. It's really smooth. And I think I found something that makes me want to fly Flight Simulator 2024 again. And it's not an Asobo aircraft. It's a third-party aircraft. So let's talk a little bit about the aircraft here. So it's cost me about $25 US, which is really not bad considering what it is. You can download a free paint kit off their website and the user manual, and you actually don't even have to pay for the plane to get those two things. But having the aircraft helps. The paint kit, again, I'm still trying to figure out how to make liveries in 2024. Not as easy as you think it is, but have patience. Eventually there will be enough tutorial videos and help, and we can all brainstorm. But anyhow, I'm not having any luck right now. So, my oil temperature looks like it's at about 80, and I could open the oil shutters, but I guess the cowl flaps are saving us. So, let's take a look from the outside. Oh, our flaps are still down. So let's raise those flaps up, and let's also kind of zoom out a little bit so you can actually see the whole aircraft in flight. So, it really is a thing of beauty. I mean, just a fun little airplane here. And maybe we're going to have to get some kind of Japanese World War II pilot or something in here. I have to go back and revisit some of my, what are the available 2024 add-ons. So, it really is a great little aircraft. I've been flying this a lot. And it kind of makes me want to fly in 2024 just because it's fun. So let's go over one of the features that it does have. You can actually fire the guns in this, but they are just for entertainment, just like any other weapons on any airplanes in 2024. They don't do anything but, you know, have animations and have sound. So to fire the guns, I bound the switch, but the trigger is right here on the throttle. And we're just going to stay with the 7.7mm guns, or the 77mm guns. 7.7 or 77? 7.7mm guns. We're going to stay with those, the nose guns. I don't know how to fire the guns on the side yet. But I know the selector switch is on the throttle, and so is the trigger. That's the trigger. I have the water rudder bound to the trigger. So, let me show you how to arm them. There's a safety switch. Take the safety off. You want to charge the two guns. And it's optional. You can engage the sight. Gun sight is down here. But from my view, see, it's great in their view, but when I go out, it doesn't look so great. And nobody wants to fly the plane like this. So if I hit the trigger button, and so I guess that you'd rest your chin forward on the rest here and look in your sight and fire. And from the external view, you're going to see this. So you get 100 rounds for the guns, and that's how they fire. Now we can just turn the gun sight off because it's It's distracting, and I don't need to see it. So, gun sight's off. That light is right there for the pitot heat. Let's put it back in safe mode, because we're not going to be firing them anymore anyways. Now, boy, we're just flying in the clouds. Maybe we should go a little higher. Kind of some odd weather here. Can we even go higher? Sure we can. Get above the clouds. Let's do that. Let's gain some altitude and get above the clouds. And I'm sorry if some of my views are making you sick. What I'm going to try and do here is maybe a little bit of aerobatics. And let's see how that goes. So, we're going to give her full throttle. Open the oil shutters, because it's going to get hot in here. And use the emergency power booster. There we go. So our manifold pressure just went up. And let's see if we can roll her. We cannot. Right now we don't have enough airspeed, but what we can do is we can do like a split S kind of thing. And just go backwards. We just clearly don't have enough airspeed to roll. But maybe we can do, or not a roll, but a loop. Maybe we can do a loop. Oh, we're going to black out. See that? It's going to black out. Maybe we can do a loop. There we go. I really should turn that off. But it makes it more realistic. And we could do a roll or a split S. And she does roll. And she does stall, by the way. Just so you know. Alright. That was lots of fun. So let's get rid of the emergency power booster. Let's close our oil shutter just a little bit. And let's actually close the cowl flaps just a little bit. They don't need to be wide open right now. That's fair. Maybe a little bit more on the cowl flaps. We don't really need them. That's totally closed. That's a crack open. Right? That should be a crack open. No, that's all the way open. Well, like I said, we've really got to get used to this aircraft. So that's going to be totally closed. And I want it just a little open. That'll work. So she is a fun aircraft. I'm loving her. I don't know how many times I gotta say she's a fun aircraft. I love the texturing on this. I love the high-res texturing on it. I love the job they did, that Blackbird did on this. It's just beautiful. With the wear and the weathering and everything, it's absolutely beautiful. So let's do another kind of roll. Here, do a barrel roll. And bring her around town, SpongeBob. Bring the manifold pressure back. We don't need to be cooking and booking right now. And if my orientation is correct, we are close to the airport where we took off at. Yep, right there, because I can tell because there's the name tags for the AI planes and the possible live players. Yeah. The minute Pony remembers how to speak, he'll better. So there's our airport. There's New Ishigaki in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. So let's bring her down a little bit and bring her in for a landing. This really is an easy plane to fly. And I think it goes at about 300 something knots. It's pretty quick for a prop plane. And it is pretty maneuverable, but right now we're just going to kind of bring her in and try and land her. So, flaps down. Flaps down. Oh, that's how you get asymmetrical flaps, Pony. And I don't know if this plane does that, but wings should be level when you bring your flaps down. Cut back on that. Cut back on the throttle. On the throttle and on the propeller RPM. So that we don't overspeed. Maybe some more flaps. And I read that it has like 3 notches of flaps. Now, I also heard that the deployment of the flaps depends on the engine RPM is their hydraulic. So, that's fine. Now then, where did we put ourselves? That's a good question. We put ourselves over here. So, and yes, I've flown this airport so many times that, well, I'm pretty much good with knowing where I'm going. So, I'm going to bring in for a landing. And I'm going to try and do it kind of responsibly. And if I go by the pre-assigned views, which I don't really like, I like this view better, which is a custom view. That's just more comfy for me. And I highly encourage you, if you are going to play 2024, that remember the views are different. And there's a lot of stuff to learn about this sim. Including apparently the flight model is better. But I think that depends on the aircraft. So maybe give her some more throttle there. Watch our airspeed. So we're at about, what, about 130 knots. If I'm doing my pony math right. I wasn't watching to see if the airspeed indicator turned over already. It's kind of important to pay attention to that. Because if it turns over, then, well, you can see that you're not doing 160. You might be doing like 200 knots, 2,500 knots. So you want to be paying attention to that when you're flying. Alright. You know, and I gotta hand it to 2024 that without too many add-ons, the terrain textures are pretty nice. A little bit nicer than 2020. And I'm going to probably end up doing that several times as I just try and, you know, switch between views, because I have the front view, left wing, right wing, front view. Just a couple of really basic views set so I can see what I'm doing. Alright. Now, the airport should be right up here. Should be. I believe it's 4 degrees. Or 40 degrees. There it is, right there. Alright, so Let's bring her in. Altitude's about, what, 500 feet? No. Yeah, maybe so. About that. That looks like we're at about 500 feet. Alright. So let's cut back. See what happens when we drop our gears. Looks like they're transitioning, and they are down. Gears are down. Flaps are halfway down. Well, they're pretty full. Not so sure if the flaps are at full, so let's watch our airspeed as we come in. And 120 knots is going to be a little fast to bring this in. Try and line ourselves up with the runway a little better. Watch our altitude, watch our power. I'm just gonna, bring the flaps up a little bit to about there. Oh, someone's skimming the water down there. That's interesting. Alright, so we're almost there. Let's bring her down. Make sure the propeller RPM is at full. And adjust the throttle accordingly. Maybe go full flaps here. See if that helps to slow us down. And let's try and get her in here, pony. We're a little too high up and we're not centered. So let's do those few things. Not centered. I don't know why I can't ever center myself on the runway. I'm not good when it comes to landing perfectly straight and centered. That's something I constantly need to work on, is my approach. For landing and centering the aircraft. All right. Always my biggest issue right here. Alright, so not the best landing as usual. Try not to bounce. And stay on the runway. A little bit of a bounce. Man, how many times I gotta turn the taxi ribbon guide off? It doesn't seem to save that preset too well. Oh well, we're just going to deal with that right now. But here we are on the ground, so let's just go ahead and unlock the canopy. Well, actually, let's do that when we get to our parking spot. We're just going to have to deal with the blue dots for now. Now, as you can see, it's kind of hard to re-engage the tail wheel. It's kind of hard to see past the cowl. Being a tail dragger and the nose is pointing up, you know, makes landing a little bit of a challenge. You kind of have to go high to be able to see. All right. Whoa. Alright, well, you know what? We're going through. I'm not sure if that's a live player or what, but let's just make it quick like that. So let's bring her to park, and let's see if something in parking wants me to park right here. That's fine. As we gobble up our blue dots. Alright. And let's bring her in. I'm definitely turning that off. Again. Don't know why I didn't save that. Oh well. So you can also go into cheat mode here and do it from the external view because it's a simulator. And we're there. So when I go back to the cockpit view, you can see, you can't see him at all. But if I do this, I still can't see him at all. If I do this, I still can't see him at all. What was up? There's up. There's over. See, I just can't see him. So let's just go back to the outside view. And let's put the chocks in. So the clipboard was down here. Toggle chocks. Chocks are in place. I can let my foot off the brake. It's not going to go anywhere now. And if you doubt if the chocks are in place, they're in place. So we're good. The flaps up. That's kind of important before we kill the engine. The flaps are up. So you can try turning the fuel valve to off. And what you're going to discover is that it doesn't do anything if there's gas in the tank. So if you want to kill the aircraft engine without shutting off the magneto, which from I've learned is the right way to cut off the fuel, that's how you do it. Then you turn the magnetos off. Something about it backfiring through the carburetor. Alright, so now we can unlock the canopy because we're not going to be deafened by the motor. So same thing. You undo the canopy lock, and in this you just click on the handle and it goes straight back. And there we are. So we don't... this trackball mouse. Pony, pony, pony. So what do we need and what don't we need? Well, we no longer need a gear indicator light. We know that's on. We no longer need a pit-out switch. And we don't need the generator, and we don't need the battery. We don't need any power to the aircraft because it's there. Now, so that's pretty much it. And, I mean, I think they did a great job. I think Blackbird Simulations did a great job on this aircraft. I'm thoroughly impressed. And, you know, I mean, again, read the manual. Oh, we didn't put the cowl flaps away. Well. We could probably close the oil shutter. So I think they did a great job. I think the flight model's great. And I think it's, you know, for 25 bucks, this is a great aircraft. Yeah. So we're going to go ahead and just take a look at her again from the outside. And there goes the jetway for something. And our little marshaller is still here. And he's going to be here until we hop out, I guess. So we're going to go ahead and hop out. But this is what the aircraft looks like on the outside. Just a full kind of view. Rotating the whole view around. It's beautiful. And they give you a bunch of different liveries. I think it comes like 4 or 5 different liveries. So let's go ahead and let's hop out. And now we're out, and you're just going to see this one thing, which is right here. Well, the marshal are still there. Well, I'll just let him be there. So as I was showing you before, hey buddy, we're done. You can go home. Is again, I can't figure out how to put the pitot tube cover back on, but it's always there when I start the aircraft, so I don't have to worry about it. And the chocks are there, and the cowl flaps are in. We're back. The oil shutter is closed, and everything's looking good to me. So there you have it. Let's just kind of zoom out, step back to zoom out. You know, Blackbird simulations, Mitsubishi Zero, the A6M-5 Zero, only 25 bucks, US dollars. Definitely fun to fly. And if you like World War II fighters and you fly to Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, I'd say this is, good value for your money. It's really a fun plane. So, on this note, I'm just going to say to everybody and every pony, hey, you guys like, share, and subscribe my videos. It helps the channel, but you don't have to if you don't want to. It just helps me out. It, lets me know that some of you guys care. Kind of inspires me to keep making videos. So, because, hey, you guys, my subscribers, people who like the videos, and, even comment on them too. You're one of the reasons I make this channel. They make the channel happen why I make the videos happen. So to everyone and every pony, thank you for watching Derp Your Hooves, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the skies.